Hello, this is Minder Chen. In this lecture, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we set up the server-side program to processing phone data. Our purpose is not to discuss on how to write a server-side program, but just try to show you how we can put everything together. And I'm going to also show you some more professional tool in terms of creating HTML file. And so let me start sharing screen. I'm going to share the whole screen one here. So in my folder, one of my folder, download folder, I have a form, which is a survey form. Uh, if I double click it, then this is what you're supposed to see. You're going to see it, it come up. And there's a navigation button navigating to three other pages for this website. And user can enter whatever information on your phone element are capturing, which text box, radio button, checkbox, text area, and also drop down list box. Okay. So if you click the submit button, then what happened? The data will be sent to a server side. If you look at the address, it's not on the local machine. It's on a web hosting website provided by SOMEE.com, SOMEE.com. That's the web hosting company that I'm using because they do have a free hosting service. And the response is kind of generic template, which basically means each of your phone element will have a name, and then whatever you enter or user enters through the form will be captured. And here, the page that's generated dynamically, let me emphasize, it's a dynamic generated HTML page through a server-side program. If you look at this file name, it's not a standard .html, it's not a static web page, it's a dynamic web page. There's a program on the server side that captured the phone data that you submitted through the previous page, and then use the data to format a page dynamically and return that page back to us. The data certainly can be captured and stored in the database behind the scene and do whatever you would like to do if you are the one writing the server-side program. So that's what it looks like. You can edit this HTML page by open with Notepad or whatever the editor. You can choose other app. If whatever editing tool that you're using is not here, then you can choose another one. If you're a Mac user, I think TextEdit is the one that you can use. And I'm going to show you briefly another tool, which is a more professional website development tool called Dreamweaver from Adobe. And so if you click here, then we have this editing tool, Dreamweaver, in the design mode that would display the page almost in what you see is what you get format. This is almost like how you're going to see it through a web browser. We do notice a few things. For instance, there's something wrong here, and we can simply delete it, but we can also look at the code. Okay, this is the HTML source code, as we call it. Label, you can use label. We did not introduce label, but in this case, I don't think label is necessary. So I'm going to remove it. Okay. Allow me to kind of recover it. Okay. What happened earlier in the design mode that show this kind of yellowish highlight things is because there's something wrong in the coding, okay? If you look at other label which did not show up at all, because this is just pure HTML code, it shouldn't show up, is because over here, label, there's no space, okay? Comparing here, there's a space, okay? So you actually have to have a space and say for. That's one way to fix it. If we come to design, then that's fixed. Okay, so you can switch between the design mode and the source code level. Some of you are maintaining a website without using HTML, and you may wonder, why do I need to know HTML? For one reason is, even though you may use a so-called no-code development environment, and but a lot of time you will get into a situation that just something just doesn't seem to right, and you, no matter what you do, you cannot fix it. And most of the tools, just like Dreamweaver here, you can switch to the code level. And if you can read and understand HTML code to a certain level, then you can kind of fix the problem easily. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, the label tag is really not necessary because we're not sending the data through the label tag on like text area that we are using to capture one of the text element. We basically need to name the text field with a name, and eventually this name or whatever you call it, okay, you don't have to call this name. For instance, I just call it uh, full name, okay, instead of name, so avoid any confusion. I just call it full name, your full name, and here I can just say your full name. From the user interface design viewpoint, we call this kind of prompt, or for text field, or for any data you want to collect from the user, you need to prompt the user and in front of the text box to tell them what this text box is all about. Okay, that's basically what it is. Okay, so that has changed. And another thing which I don't like particularly is this two button just come too close. From the user interface design viewpoint, it's not a good idea. So I'm going to click here, come over in the middle, if you can see the cursors in the middle. Oh, sorry. Maybe this is why I may need to go to the code level. Maybe I will, let me just do this. Uh, I, hmm. Okay, so the space character doesn't work. Let me just do it. For space character, there's a trick called non-breaking space. Okay, you can have several of them. Non-breaking space. That's a space character, because any extra space character would be ignored in HTML. So you actually have to use, we call this escape sequence to add uh, a hard-coded space character, and several of them in this case. Let's see. Ooh, oh, how come it doesn't work? Button submit. Uh, Let me do this. Hmm. I cannot fix this. That's weird. Um, Let me just force it this way. I'm going to just come to code, and I'm going to just use break, line break to separate them. Okay, to separate the two. And because I have hard time adding space character here. Okay. So that's the best I can do, and maybe have two line break. Okay. That will make it separate the two. Okay, just a little bit clear. So this is done. Now this is still a client side. This is still just the web page. When I say client side, this still has to be put on a server technically somewhere. For our assignment, you don't have to do that. You just finish it locally, test it locally, zip all your file, HTML file, including image file, and submit the zip file to me. Okay. And make sure you save it. Okay. And once you save it, now I can come here. If I double click and bring this up, so you can see the change has been in effect. So I'll just call it Peter Smith, email peter@gmail.com, faculty, test, choose, good, okay. And okay, pay a little bit attention here. Like I check faculty, I can check both. I mean, assuming you can be faculty and student at the same time. But let me just check student instead of faculty. I'll show you what happened on the server side. If I submit, first of all, you find out that name for the first text field is full name because I made that changes. And let's see, feature student. Okay, here there's a feature student. Okay, because I think the text box I use something called features, so it's student. Okay, um, I'm just very curious if I choose faculty, and let's see what happened. Both of them, then the system actually will show me this is this so-called feature. I guess maybe position, job. It would basically would be both student and faculty. Okay, and that's what we wanted. Okay, so that's what happened in terms of on your end creating a form and then sending it to the testing website. Now let's see what I have to do on the server side to write that testing program for you to kind of test the form. Allow me to still stay here. To use that testing program that has been written for you in your form, you actually have to use this address. Minder Chen, http://minderchen.some, SOMEE.com, and forms/formscript.aspx. The method can be post or get, okay? And so post and get, let me change to get for the moment. Okay, I'm not going to save it. Pay attention to this URL, okay? After this formscript.aspx, nothing behind it, okay? But now, let me save the change. I changed the method to get. Well, now let me just remember, when you change web page and you want to test it again, you have to say refresh. You cannot say, oh, this form is here. Let me just test it again. You have to refresh to load the latest version. Okay, I'll choose great and submit. Look at here. Okay. There's a question mark after phone_script.aspx, and then there's those phone elements name followed by the value or data entered by the user, n% followed by another phone elements variable name and the value, etc., etc. And that everything after the question mark is what we call query string. It's a technical term. Just beware. The server-side program that I have provided can handle both get method and the post method, so you don't feel free to use either one. Uh, Professionally, the post method is probably better because you're not revealing the data on your URL. There's someone stopping by, you submit something you don't want other people to see, but if they still see um, the URL to the server side program, they can see the query string. They can figure out what you have submitted. Okay. And let me uh, let me bring up. Okay. I'm at Summit. You can go to the website and try to find the for instance, there's a free hosting. It's a little bit more complicated. We're not covering how you set it up, but if you'd like, you can certainly give it a try. Once you obtain account, you can go to the control panel, and basically it's a dashboard. And somewhere when you set it up, they will ask you what kind of subdomain name that you would like to have. The subdomain name, for instance, I use Minder Chen, so it's minderchen.somi.com. And that's my website address that I have been given to you. If you click, then you can kind of manage that website. For instance, your URL is minderchen@somi.com. And I think this is another web address with www in front of it. And there's a FTP address. This one is not totally right. It's just FTP :2/ and minderchen.somi.com and stop there. They add something else behind it that's not necessary. For whatever reason, it's there. And so that's basically how you can do file management. So you can actually look at what file has been loaded on your server side. You can upload local file to the server side. So this is what you can do if you have a local file that you have finished develop locally. That's how we would usually develop a website. Is we have a local development environment, then we can upload whatever file over there. Okay, that's just one way to do it. But that's probably not the best way in terms of sending your file to the server. Okay, once again, you can use this upload to send the locally developed file to the server to be hosted. Okay, and the foam script is the one that I have written. It's actually two files, and they come in pair. It's in ASPX. We call it ASP.NET from Microsoft. One is the user interface side. The .vb is it's kind of the actual program coding server-side script behind it. I'll go over that just a little bit with you. And so once that's there, then it's ready to go. Let's look at just a little bit what's what are those two files is about in terms of server-side program. Let's look at okay. On my on my on my local machine, let me take a look. I have my, where is my foam script? Okay. I have my two foam script file, and I have opened it up in another tool. Okay. Another tool that I use is VS.net. Okay. It's a freeware from Microsoft. You can go to code.visualstudio.com to download it. I believe they have version for other platform, including Mac. Okay, it's free. You can use it to build your HTML, ASP.NET. I think you can use it for Python, which I use occasionally, and etc. The more professional version from Microsoft is called Visual Studio.NET, which I've been using um, when I build ASP.NET program. So this is what the tool I'm going to show you. So let's go to the tool. Okay. So foam script. If you look at the foam script, it's very simple. Okay. Don't worry about some of the code here. It's just HTML code. And the only thing in that HTML, the body of the HTML code is just a label. Okay. Since it's ASP.NET, there's a special tag called ASP colon label. And then this label has a name called label one, but there's nothing in it. Okay. If you really look at it on the page, they just say, thank you for submitting your information here. And here are what we have received. But there's no, technically, there's no data yet. Okay. What happened is that when somebody hit this page with their form containing the data, the system actually will run this program, and this program has a code behind it. Okay. What is the code behind it? It's this one, code file. There's a code file associated with this .aspx program. It's called formscript.aspx.vb in Visual Basic.NET. It can be written in C#, which is Microsoft's proprietary language. Over here, the code is pretty simple. It's pretty generic. This for loop, this is a little bit of programming, so we're not introducing programming, but I'm going to just go over it just very quickly to give you an idea. There's another for loop. This two for loop is dealing with if you submit through the post method, through the get method. If you use the get method, you are sending phone elements name and the value through query string. Otherwise, you're sending it through a server-side variable called request.forms. Okay. And so the loop, it just give me each of the phone elements. Okay. And give me their name. The X just will give you the name of the element. And this request.params.get will give you the value, the actual value associated with that phone elements variable. Okay. So that's how you're going to deal with it in this loop. So you're going through all the phone element and getting just one element's name and then getting its value at a time. And we are actually formatting those data in HTML format. So if you take a look here, okay, before the loop, remember this label one, the label one that we have here, it's empty. There's nothing in between about this label one, but now we're actually say, okay, we want the label one to have an order listing. Okay, we're started with a list item. Remember, we talked about list. Okay, followed by the name of the phone element equal to, I'm doing string concatenation and the value. What is the value of that phone element? We don't know when we write the code, okay? Because this will be executed at the runtime, so we're going to get those value, those variable name and the value pair dynamically at the runtime. So we're formulating this dynamically. And at the end, don't forget about close this order listing with end of the order listing. So eventually we're going to build a list item for each phone element with variable name equal to value, variable name equal to value, and then at the end, that's the end of the order listing. And so this form script would basically render the document accordingly. And so assuming I have this true written, then I have to do put it up on the server side so they can be handled properly. The software that I use for uploading my local file to the server is an FTP client, File Transfer Protocol client software. And the web server has a FTP server, which work with the web server on the server side. But the FTP allow me to, for instance, I have those two phone script. Let's assume I have finished that. If I need to upload it, I can highlight actually all the file, whatever locally that I have. I can just say upload, then it will be uploaded to the server side. Okay, to the server side. And the server side over here, file. Okay. And this is the SOMI, is my server side. This is the FTP URL to my FTP server. Okay. Usually the port number, I believe, is 21. And then you should know your username and password for your web hosting environment. That's the one you're going to use. And then you say connect. Then they're going to connect it. One thing you need to be very careful whenever you're hosting a dynamic web page, a server-side script, or just pure HTML page, whatever you make, whenever you make change locally, you do need to upload it to the server to be in effect. Okay, if you don't put it on the server, you can test it locally, but nobody else can see your web page. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Just to summarize a little bit, the I'm kind of using this quick demo to show you that building a website, building particular dynamic website will involve server-side programming. You will probably use a more professional tool instead of text edit or Notepad, and which will make your life a little bit easier. So there's a lot of things actually need to be working coherently to make this work. But learning how to do HTML page is the first steps. Okay, and if you're certainly interested in server-side programming, that could be a whole semester-long course, and you also need to have some basic programming experience. Okay. Okay, that's it. I'll see you next time. Thank you.